Okay, welcome back to another session of the Dales. I've returned to the Dales. Hello, Internet.
Hello.
Welcome everyone. We've had a bit of a calamity recently. I went through a massive typhoon. It took a few weeks out of us, and so we're a little bit rusty. Particularly I am, because I haven't been able to work on it much the last few weeks. But here we are. We are in Cormier, along the road from Suzail to Marsemba, where we intend to catch up with Count Vaughan, the seditionist who seems to support the claim of Jesnar the Seeker to the throne, the usurper. We spent the night with the core family, a noble family who are destitute. Three girls, all of which are in need of dowry, and our particularly Finnix investment has helped them out. But we discovered that one of the girls bears the plague, the blue plague of blue fire, and we consulted with outside forces and found out that crucially, this blue fire is beyond our ilk to influence, to control, and indeed beyond the ilk of any mortal to stop. And with this unfortunate but at least definitive information, we now know that the plague of blue fire is simply something that we cannot stop. We departed their castle and have now headed down into the village, into the town that supports this castle, the lands of the core nobles. And we arrived to find some level of excitement in the town. There are an adventuring party, uh, a disparate adventuring party indeed, that have killed a red dragon, but only a small one, perhaps no more than 12 feet long. And they are parading this through the dragon, lauding the crowd with their copper pieces and gaining a great amount of attention for it. The composition of the adventuring party is, like most adventuring parties, quite unique. This one consisting of a Sembian leader, a a 12-year-old sullen girl who carries a hammer that crackles with lightning as large as she is, a knight whose red plume coming out of his helmet indicates that he may be from Hillsfar, a human supremacist city to the north that recently fell to the Xantarum. And most unusually of all, a hammerhead shark that walks and talks, has arms and legs, a strange and unique creature, to be sure. So we have yet to approach these individuals. They seem to be enjoying the attention of the crowd. The 12-year-old girl less so than the others. Um, but important as we are, there would be nothing stopping us from interrogating these people, should we wish to, or not.
Just voicing my concerns to Sildarin that while their achievement is laudable, I suppose, I fear they may have angered a larger and more powerful dragon by slaying this much smaller one.
Do dragons tend to hunt or be in groups, especially red dragons? I thought they were more lonely dragons than anything.
Yes, well, Sildarin does seem to think that they are the kind of creatures to push their babies from the nest quite early on, so perhaps I'm worried about nothing, but it is a concern nonetheless.
But those dragons are also quite possessive. Like, this could be that you're destroying something that belonged to it. So could we do a history check to try to get some clues as to the tendencies?
Yeah, absolutely. Sildarin's Arcana check confirmed for us that red dragons, tend to be very individual, but when they are this young, they sometimes team up in small cadres. But yeah, go ahead and make a history check to see if there is any further information. That's
It's a
enormous.
big number.
What What is it that you wanted to know?
I guess the idea is because I'm thinking dread dragons. I think they're quite greedy and possessive. So even if they shove them out of the nest, you breaking it could be basically you breaking something that belongs to me, so that the bigger dragon might come back for revenge. So I was wondering how likely that would be.
That's absolutely That's absolutely possible, and not unprecedented. However, we're a long way from Red Dragon territory. This Red Dragon is a long way from Red Dragon territory. They like mountains, primarily. They aren't known to enjoy the coast or the water particularly well. So the fact that this dragon is as far south or as far away from any mountain chains as it is, seems to suggest that it's by itself. The nearest mountains being, well, I don't think this map is
for some
actually
other
accurate,
reason.
but yes, it is accurate.
Or perhaps it isn't a dragon at all. Its small size, perhaps it is magically disguised as something else. Perhaps they simply felled a horse and disguised it as a dragon to claim credit for it. I don't suppose any of you would be able to detect any presence of magic lingering on that draconic corpse.
As far as indicate he has a prayer that would show like the center magic on it.
How close must you be?
That was my question too.
30 feet.
And to get to 30 feet, you'd basically have to push past every member of the crowd because they're not really getting much closer than about 30 feet because of that goddamn shark. It looks like it's ready to gobble up anyone, particularly small children, if they get too close. So you can definitely do that, but we'd be pushing past literally hundreds, perhaps as many as 1,000 people. Well, who's going to stop us?
Indeed. I am curious, I must admit. Do you think it's worth our time to investigate, or shall we move on?
Yes, you'll
We do
shrug.
have got a fair bit on our plate already.
It would be very interesting to find out how that dragon ended up here.
Does anyone know what a fire knife is?
Yeah, they're a group
there
of
a
Stenbian
reference
nobles,
earlier?
aren't they? Where they're just like, look, we're so cool, we have knives. We have flaming knives.
That's exactly right. The Fire Knives are a criminal organisation from Sembia, a thieves guild, if you will, that recruits exclusively from the rich bored nobility, and their signatory weapon is a flaming dagger, flaming jeweled dagger. That Sembian, apparently their leader, is bearing one.
Now I'm definitely interested. What brings the Sembian all the way down to Cormia? Especially a member of the Fire Knives. And in the presence of such interesting company.
Well, I guess it can't hurt to ask a few questions.
No, I suppose not. While they're enjoying the attention of the crowd, I can't imagine everyone will be standing around here all day. So perhaps if we just wait a little while, they'll retire to the nearest tavern to drink away their earnings, and perhaps we might get a word in.
Or we can make an even grander spectacle so all the attention turns to us and they clear a path.
I mean, we could certainly do that.
Okay, so I would like to summon my pet dragon and start riding it towards them. All dressed up as a fluffy little noble.
It's a real dragon! It's a rabbit on a dragon! Your instinct that you will be the center of attention turns out to be quite correct. For living dragons being ridden by rabbits, every bit as interesting as dead dragons being carried by sharks. And people start to suspect that this is a stage. That this is all one big and one big act, and that you're part of the presentation, the float, if you will, the carnival. That might be the best word. And as the center of attention, they gather around us, and because we've got our beautiful custom-built stagecoach, they give us the space that we need. Parades, of course, need space to progress, and the Cormyrians are what's the word? Are a people. Well, they like parades. I'm not sure of the word is, but they enjoy fanfare, and and thus they are orderly. They create an orderly gap for us to go down the main road. Um, uh, though they're holding out their hands to see if we are going to lord them with the coinage that the other adventurers are doing. Where's my copper? Where's my silver?
Guess I'll just
Do we
keep riding towards them.
All right, we do. We opt not to throw out copper confetti, and
I'll do
instead.
so.
Oh, okay. No worries, and that helps in a way at least to open up the path because people start chasing the coins, and as long as you don't chuck them straight in front of us, that means that there's fewer people running in front of us to inconvenience us. So Finnick, you will arrive at the group first, and uh, their countenance is a little bit mixed. The hammerhead shark is every bit as aggressive as he was from the start. The Sembian and the knight appear to be a little bit angered, a little bit chuffed by the fact that you've distracted their parade and taken the spectacle away from them. But the emo girl seems only relieved to not be pressured by the crowd, only for that relief to be torn away by the fact that, it looks like they're coming towards us.
So he'll do the weird thing where he coughs into his hand, stands up on the dragon. As a baron, I would like to know why you're parading and where you killed this dragon.
Hey, Baron, what are you, the Lord of Long Ears?
Indeed. With a town that you do not own, and a title you do not own.
Well, I will have you know that my uncle is one of the richest men in all of Sembia.
You're gonna just touch the ground, pick up the dirt. This doesn't smell like Sembian dirt to me.
No wonder it smells like filth. Boo! The crowd don't really like that comment. Baron Rabbit, if you are so rich, perhaps you would like to purchase some of the treasures that we took from the hoard of this horrible beast.
Why would I purchase treasures from such a small dragon?
Because they are treasures of great value. But if you do not want them, then be gone with you, you false claimant to nobility.
I guess as we get closer, he'll flight us will do the detect magic spell.
Yeah, and they do have some magical items with them. Obviously, their own personal gear, the hammer, no doubt, the fire knife, and so on. But what they're offering are we haven't yet seen. So your detect magic is functioning and will continue to function, but they haven't shown us what's on offer.
Does the dragon glow by any chance?
No, the dragon is a genuine corpse.
Fair enough.
I guess a little
Say,
closer,
let's-
because dragons tend to be quite, I guess, famous. Are there any marks on this one that would identify it to any important dragons? And it's got
Yeah, sure. We can use that same history check from before, and It's not very big. It's a baby dragon, and so probably hasn't had time to establish itself as a as a as a legendary creature yet. Anyway,
It means like, oh, it's got like, it's got like the same coloured eyes as like that ancient red dragon that flies around here sometimes. That might be their child. That's what I'm aiming at.
yeah. It looks just like it. Like it looks like a micronized version, a model, if you will, a miniature. Yeah, it looks just like it.
I suppose he'll like express this lineage to Eleanor.
Wait. If that creature were to do a pass over this area now and spot this display, I doubt there would be anything left of this town.
That is
Is
not
that
my
what you're
problem.
doing? You're challenging the ancient dragon. Adult dragons are quite tough. You might want to stick at your level of babies.
It is not my problem what happens to this town. I am a hero. I have saved people, and that is what is important.
But not these people.
Did you not say that you are the noble? Perhaps you should be the one looking after them and not me.
Why do you think we're having this discussion?
I do not know why we were having it. I was hoping to offload some of these treasures that we do not need, but perhaps you are simply wasting my time.
And what mighty treasures might you have recovered from this dragon's hoard?
Well, go on. Show them what we have, Vorgal of the Red Plume. And he pulls out a fairly paltry group of objects, and they all do glow. One is a pearl. The pearl has all the colors of magic. It seems to possess the powers of every school rather than one school. There is an arrow that has enchantment and transmutation magic, not particularly strong, but there it is anyway. There is a potion, and this potion has transmutation magic, and it's glowing very strongly indeed. It's ironic that the potion is at least as powerful as any of the other items. And finally, a ring. Rings are normally two potions actually. Rings are normally very potent items, but this one doesn't seem to have that same level of potency that rings are known for. And finally, one more potion that seems to be relatively insignificant. Has no more magical power than a healing potion, but it is also transmutation.
Quite a collection you have there. I assume
He
you're
is
on your
glad
way
that
to
you are
Suzale.
impressed.
I
Yes,
assume
that
you're on
is
your way to
correct.
Suzale.
Perhaps one of the war wizards will appreciate what we have on offer here.
Hmm. Perhaps. Although I think those treasures might be better served in the hands of the crown. The wizard's still loyal to the crown, that is. So Suzale is a good place to go.
I am glad I have your approval, for politics bore me to death. Politics. I hate politics, says the young girl. Just a bunch of important people thinking that they have control over the rest of us. But I don't answer to anyone who informs me.
Yeah, I'm sure that you don't. Where might you happen to come from?
A long way from here. A long way. Isn't that enough to know?
Yes, I suppose. I won't pry into your private business.
Can Flightless try to guess from the accent?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
So history?
History will do. Yeah. She could be from as far afield as Waterdeep or the Sword Coast. She might be from the Moon Sea, which is still a pretty long way away, 500 miles or so. She's very white, very pale, so she has northern stock. And the fact that one of these guys probably comes from Hillsfar might be an indicator that she's from the Moon Sea as well. They're a disparate group in any case.
I guess sort of in Isabella, she'll sort of shrug and go to the Moon Sea.
Can we just go to Mithranor now? This place sucks. Soon enough, the child. Soon enough, Thunderchild. We will go there, and then we will make this paltry sum seem insignificant. The fortunes we will find will make us among the richest people in the lands. Great.
Mithranor, is that not the fabled elf city to the north?
Yeah, so? The young girl says.
Well, I've heard many stories about that place. And if slaying creatures of this ilk, gesture to the dragon, is the apex of your abilities, then I dare say that you will be among the many adventurers to go there and never return.
Okay, well, thanks for your advice. We are Stormfire. There is nothing that has ever challenged us, and it is high time that we pressed our claim. I happen to know of a cache of great treasure within Mithranor. It will only take a single. We will have to do is dip our toes into the city, and we will emerge with such wealth and power that no baron in the future will ever question our intention.
Well, it makes more to make a nobleman than simple wealth.
Oh, is that so? Well,
Certainly does.
whatever it takes, I am sure I already have it.
Maybe one day you'll find it.
Well, are you going to make a purchase, or are you simply trying to steal our thunder away from us?
I looked to everyone else.
I'm
Do
just
any of
gonna.
their items interest you?
Phoenix just gonna stretch his back, yawn, and say, killing baby dragons. I was doing that when I was a young child. Come back to me when you can kill adult dragons by yourself, and then I'm just gonna ride off.
You know, the rabbits look right. This dragon's kind of lame. Like, these people are so easily impressed.
I suppose Flightless will inspect the pearl. And so just like, do they know what it does?
Sure. Do you have an identifier?
Well, he's asking them first, but like, yeah, he has identify.
It is a pearl of power. I think pearls of power store spells. I think is that what they do?
I think they restore spell slots up to 3rd level.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll copy and paste what it does.
Yeah.
That can be yours for 2,000 pieces of gold.
Well, Flightless only has 1st level spells, so I don't think it'd be too useful for him. So you'll put it. As that was the one thing of interest.
Yeah,
Probably be good for,
not worth an
for anyone
attunement
else.
slot.
Anybody else?
All right.
interested?
Well, I will give you the pearl for less price if you can simply break this arrow. He says, offering you the arrow with a smile.
break the arrow.
Yes, all you need to do is snap it in half. Indeed, all if you can do not more than bend it into a shape of a U, then I will give you a discount on the pearl of 50%.
You are aware you're already selling below 50% of market price.
Oh, we should be asking for more, says the knight. Let us see now if they can bend the arrow, and then we will talk price.
Hmm. Interesting challenge. I'll take the arrow and look it over.
It's stiff. It appears to be made of wood. It has a flint head, and some speckled fletchings. It doesn't appear to be anything particularly unusual, and it doesn't glow with any tremendous amount of strength.
What happens to a magic item when in 5th edition when you cast Dispel Magic on it?
Haha, not sure. Check it out. The spell magic might only be
Now, can you post the spell description?
yeah. I'm
Weird,
looking
it
at
says
now.
object in the description, but then goes on to say nothing really about it.
I think Dispel Magic ends the effect of spells. I don't think it can dispel magic items.
Yeah, so like if you had
I think that's
if you
correct.
cast a magic weapon on a sword, you can cast Dispel Magic to end the effect of magic weapon on the sword, but I don't think it would do
Yeah, or
anything to like the +1 arrow.
Mhm.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, I suppose
Would
if
anybody
Eleanor
like to-
used her armor to cast invulnerability, you could probably Dispel Magic that to dispel the invulnerability.
Yep.
Right.
So, would anybody like to try their hand at this challenge?
Sounds like another children's game, like killing baby dragons.
Indeed, it does.
This town sucks. Can we go somewhere else?
I have to admit, the Symbian has irked me though, like out of character. So I think I might attempt to break it.
All right, go ahead and make an athletics check. You can have advantage since you've got time on your side and techniques that you might use.
I guess just maybe the help action, point out the weaker parts of like where like a magic arrow would be, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
I suppose it doesn't really do much since he already has advantage.
Exactly. I thought you'd be able to get advantage through somehow. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Alright. So athletics, you say?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
25.
25 doesn't even flex. Ah, you have found that the arrow is unbreakable, no? There is no force on this world that could possibly damage it. Ah, that is its potency. An unbreakable arrow.
We'll see. I'll place the arrow on the ground and heft my halberd.
And
He said
not,
he said break it. He didn't say how.
not even a scratch.
Not even a scratch. Interesting.
Because which flavor of magic did it have?
Enchantment. Maybe transmutation. I don't know. Oh, this is so boring.
It's quite a remarkable arrow. I'll hand it back.
1,000 pieces of gold for the unbreakable arrow. You can use it in any number of ways.
Such as?
Yeah. Like one, it won't break. You could stick it inside the axle of a vehicle, and the vehicle will be immobilized. You could use it as a climbing pick, and it would never flex. You could carry an elephant upon the arrow. An elephant's not going to be able to balance on an arrow. It would be. You could toss it into lava, and it would remain undamaged. You don't know that. You haven't even tried.
The best
Right, we get
sales
a sale
assistant.
here. 1,000 pieces of gold.
It is quite a remarkable artifact, but I do not believe we have any use for it.
Then the potion. This potion will give you the strength of a giant. 500 pieces of gold.
Strength of a giant.
I suppose while
Interesting.
he's talking about it, can Flightless identify it, see which type of giant it is?
Frost giant.
Yeah, I guess he'll turn in Isabella's voice to speak Frost.
They are one of the larger types and stronger, I believe. Interesting proposition. Very well. I'll purchase this potion from you.
Ah, very good, very good. 500 pieces of.
I'll hand over
The ring. The ring will keep you warm in the coldest of climates. You could travel naked through across the spine of the world, and you would not even notice the effect. Better to shrivel your balls, though.
It's like the worst teenage daughter ever.
And how much would you offer that one for?
1,000 pieces of gold. He changes his mind.
Were our business taking us to the spine of the world, I might consider it. Alas, we do not plan to go that far north anytime soon.
Then this potion is only 50 pieces of gold, but I don't know what it does. It would be a gamble for you. You can roll the dice, and for 50 pieces of gold, what have you got to lose? 50 pieces of gold?
Yes, I'm afraid I prefer to know what I'm purchasing.
Does identified provide anything?
Yeah, if you use another first level spell. You still have spells left, I guess?
Have I been using spells? I ran out of spells.
Yeah. Identify. Each object casts one spell, so.
Because it is a ritual as well.
You really expect me to wait for another 10
Yeah,
minutes?
no, it's
God,
been a long
I
time.
don't want to be in this town for another 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, I have been using spell slots up until this point. So.
Sure.
Go
on, take the risk. It is such a minor investment for barons and whatever else you are.
I'm
I
afraid
suppose
not.
I mean, he can identify it later, so he'll get it now.
All right. You will later find out that it is a potion you've never heard of. It's called an Ankheg Ichor. It basically lets you spit acid, but it gives you a set of mandibles in the process.
A bird with mandibles. How would that even look like?
Nightmarish. It's like a biblical angel.
D6 psychic damage to even look at him. Right. As for that pearl you have there, I'm afraid I'm rather a little light on coin at the moment, but perhaps a trade to add to your arsenal of treasures. I'll produce some chunks of mithril and adamantite. Say that these are the raw form of some of the rarest metals in all the realms. I dare say you could make for yourself some rather fine equipment with them.
They're skeptical. Doesn't look like gold to them.
You need not take it if you do not wish to do so.
No, I am sure that you are simply trying to swindle us.
I would never, on my honor. But as you wish. Put it away. I think he said 2,000 for the pearl, and I only have the equivalent of 1,430 in coin at the moment.
I don't think we're too hyped for the pearl anyway.
No, although the pearl would be another 48 damage in terms of a smite for me. That's why I was considering it. Like, pearls of power are pretty strong on paladins compared to other casters.
I suppose just making sure it's not like one of the ones where you need to be in a it's not like a netherite pearl of power, is it?
I'm not sure the
No,
difference.
it's just a.
With a netherite
I
pearl
don't
of
know
power,
either,
you
but
need
this
to
is a
be within
regular one.
a mythal for it to function.
Oh yeah. No, this
That
no,
would
this,
be
is
quite
is
a swindle.
Quite
Yeah, I don't think I have anything that could add up to 2,000. I have some potions, actually. Let's see, what's the market price of a potion of supreme healing?
I don't know. Is it
Let's check that.
2,000 maybe? Not sure.
1,350. So let's say that's half because I'm like trading it and selling it. Plus my coin. Perhaps 100 platinum plus a potion of supreme healing. I'll offer that deal to them.
100 platinum and a potion of supreme healing.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll take that.
Alrighty. I should hope that you never need it.
Well, I am confident that we will continue to adventure unscathed as we have in the past. But generosity has been welcome.
Well, then I do believe we'll take our leave. Perhaps you should be rid of that dragon corpse, though, before any larger dragons see it and you invoke their wrath.
Nonsense. I will turn this into a beautiful cloak and I will display it wherever I go. Hey, I want to wear the cloak, says the knight. I'm the one who killed the dragon. It was my hammer. They start bickering among themselves.
I'll turn to the rest of the party. I believe this is our cue.
I guess we head off.
Alright. So along the road we go, along the Dragon Eye Way. The further we get from Suzail and the closer to Marsemba we get, the less friendly they become towards the royal family, the Cormyrean nobility. And so we pass on by taverns where pictures of Princess Regent Alisair are being used as dartboards. You hear people boasting of the war crimes that they've committed against various families. Does any of this interest us, or do we continue on our journey?
I suppose if I pass by any likenesses of the princess being used as dartboards, I'll offer to purchase the image Like
What
for
what do you offer?
a platinum piece, purchased it.
A platinum piece? Yeah, they'll give you their dartboard for 10 gold. That's fine. I will use this money to buy a bigger axe to kill more Cormyreans.
Shake my head. Roll up the pictures that I get. Do what I can to prevent the princess from being so debased.
Excellent. Okay. So it's relatively populated along here. There are towns and villages every few miles, and even when there are no towns and villages, there's populated farmland and houses for fishermen, and a handful of way stops, a few shrines, and so on. But these are contested lands, and while there is no open clashes between militaries going on, there are small groups of thugs on either side, loyalists and Republicans alike, who are, I guess, making life difficult for anyone who lives in the region. But we eventually come to the outskirts of Marsemba, a town of perhaps 100,000 people, pretty big place, maybe more than that, in fact. And it dawns on us that we don't really have a plan for what we're going to do now that we're here.
Perhaps we should take the time to be 100% sure what we're doing.
But I guess let's start with the end goal. And what, like, ultimately, like, if everything goes well, what do we want to have happened?
For Count to be standing before the princess. I believe he has a lot to answer for, and as a proven secessionist, him being in a cell is more beneficial to the country than him being out here organizing rebellions.
So, because what would normally be the process? Because, like, well, obviously the dwarves thinks they've been wronged, and he's obviously he wouldn't say he hasn't been doing wrong to them. So, like, what would, I guess, the civil law like say that? Okay, let's try this again. What would the process be? Like, would both parties go to Suzale to defend themselves?
I happen to have a lag spike there, so I didn't catch most of
Okay.
that.
No, I wasn't speaking very coherently either.
Good,
So,
I guess.
I think the question was,
if there was a
what's
case
the
between
protocol?
the dwarves and him over his treatment, like, would that be heard in Suzale? Like, before the queen, like, before the princess regent?
What would be the protocol to arresting a noble? Is that the question?
Or I guess not even arrest, just bringing a civil case against the noble for, like, I guess, unfair treatment.
Oh, well, look, that's a good question. And you have the right to be tried by your peers, and if you're nobility, your peers are not the average magistrate. Your peers are other nobility. Put simply, a noble, a count, should be brought before the king. The king should be the one to decide justice, or I guess in the case of our situation, the king's regent, or Alistair, because we don't have a king. The king is missing. So, but there is a certain lack of legitimacy to the princess regent's rule and the princess regent's decrees. So, so the process is you tell them to appear before the king, you summons them to court, and then they will be tried by the court. But these are not normal times, and therefore normal protocol simply might not apply. In short, there isn't one.
But I suppose the other argument is if like the Princess Regent's like orders are like completely illegitimate, then all of law and order would break down. So I suppose an argument could be made that until there's a real regent, she's the best we got.
Or justice is simply delayed. The court process cannot progress because there's no one to hear it. That's
But
another
then there's
argument.
what is it? Justice delayed is justice denied. Would be the quote, wouldn't it? Sorry,
From
talking about delayed and being called away again.
Very well.
some perspective, sure.
My idea would be to not quite exploit the fact the king is missing, but have him appear before the princess. Oh, he doesn't recognize the princess as legitimate. Very well, I guess I'll have to wait for a legitimate ruler to pass judgment on him. And in the meantime, here's a nice cell.
Yeah. Again, that's certainly a valid perspective, but it might be no more valid than just letting the guy sit at home until trial, until he comes to trial.
True.
So yeah, an uncertain situation to be sure.
Because we know that he's a secessionist, but if we barge in there and say we're arresting you on by the authority of the princess, that could be the spark that ignites more fierce fighting.
It could very well be the fact that one lesser noble arrests another lesser noble and detains them might be justification for more people to turn to one side or the other. Yeah.
Hard to say. I know if Moog were here, he'd have a few choice words for Vaughn, given his character's investment in it all.
I'm back.
Very good. So we've arrived in Marsemba, or at least its outskirts, and we're just trying to work out what our process is going to be. We've ascertained that our goal is to drag him before the Princess Regent for justice, but we've also noted that it's just as legitimate for us to do that as it is legitimate for him to say, well, I'm just going to wait until the king is back before my case is heard. Our legal grounds are flimsy, though arresting someone illegally is hardly a worse crime than joining a rebel faction.
Could always just try to arrange a meeting with him and just have see if he'll agree to just a little chat.
Agree to just a little chat.
Yeah, it's just a little chat between nobles.
About what exactly?
I don't know, politics and things.
Given our reputation, I don't think you'd believe that we're there for just a little chat.
I mean, to be honest, our party, well, at least before Finnick joined, at least since Finnick's been, it's not been very political. We've not really gone around being like, we are Cormyrean, we're 100% on the Queen's side. If you're not, you're our enemy. Not really come up.
Yeah, I guess we haven't made any huge political moves.
But we're just a party that's trying to recapture Tethymar. We've
talked.
never leaned our allegiance to either side. Plus, as Finnick, I could always just go in and like, yeah, you were seen at the capital. Yeah, I'm a dragon hunter. I went to hunt a dragon. Which is what I did. I have no interest in Coromune politics. I only went there to hunt the dragon.
Almost bagged it.
Almost got it. Foolish Finnick and his not drinking swiftness potions or having high intelligence. Was character-like player.
Well,
I
until
don't
we
know
actually
that.
know where Vaughn is staying or situated, I'm not sure we can really devise a plan for the approach.
Well, I don't really
Seems
think
like the
he'd be hidden.
I'm pretty sure we just went into Mars and Bear,
Well,
just really loud and fragrant. I'm pretty sure we'll just get an audience with him, or at least with someone important who will point us in his direction.
Yeah, I think that's really the first question: is do we go in? Do we go in sort of bells ringing, or do we kind of go in a little more incognito?
Because Eleanor's got that disguise that she hates that she could always wear if she wanted to.
What disguise is that?
I bought you a insignia of my empire. Remember?
Yeah, unfortunately I do.
Also got one for you, Locke, as well. I've got it written down here.
We can dress up as your retainers.
Yeah.
I think my pride could survive such a thing.
what, D4 psychic damage every round?
Yeah.
So wrong with Finnick, the dragon hunter.
Well, I know that the matter of the rebellion aside and the civil war, that he does need to answer for taxing the dwarves to such a horrendous extent that he forced them to secede themselves. I think that's very reasonable to answer to your monarch too. And as a paladin and xenomorph, I think I have the authority to have him come with me to answer some questions from the princess.
Yeah, but have you played Far Cry 5? They went in
I
there and they
haven't.
tried to grab him, and then you're going to have to fight our way through every hillbilly who doesn't like the Queen to get out of this country.
I haven't played the game, no.
It sort of depends whether or not he
Ignoring that.
plays ball or not.
But we have to fight our way through everyone who's not just going to let their first noble who's probably standing up for what they believe in to just be removed and arrested.
Because the thing is, because here he might have physical might, where we literally can't fight every single person on the way out, but he'd have to out himself as a secessionist, where either being ambiguous or pro-crown is still I guess advantageous.
I think it said that he's already essentially outed himself.
Yeah, unless he takes us arresting him as a declaration of war and then just marches on Suesdale.
I don't think he could march on Suesdale.
Quite a few people in this town.
Well, I'm happy to leave the matter of the rebellion out of it and just focus on Half-Hap and his taxing habits. And if while he's in the capital, the princess then sees fit to imprison him for being a secessionist, that's nothing to do with me.
That
And
sounds
also,
really
if you
kind of sound
frame
like
it,
lying.
if you frame it in would here for half hat, it would seem really insincere of him to start going on about the rebellion.
Yeah.
Because to get to the point of succession, there's probably quite a lot of protocol ignored on his behalf in dealing with the dwarves.
Probably.
So I suppose it depends if Cormier is based more in France or England.
I don't know. I'm afraid.
Because in England, it is funny because there were peasants who just sued their lord, and I think that's quite funny.
The way I'm gathering it is that nobles are beholden to no one except other nobles and the monarch.
I think that's more French then.
Sounds about right. Hmm. I'm not entirely sure
remember
what
it.
the best way to go about things is either.
I suppose inviting him to Suesdale to discuss his treatment of Half-Hap might be a good way of framing it. And it'll make it seem
I
like
do
it's voluntary.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that's a legitimate reason to summon him. That has nothing to do with the rebellion.
And as a paladin of Seamorph, that you could probably say that, well, that your like oaths swear you to like legitimate power.
My oaths would swear me to, yeah. Xeomorph's whole shtick and dogma is noblesse oblige, the fact that nobles should rule responsibly and well. And taxing a region so hard that it tries to secede from the empire is not very responsible.
And depending how hard we can get him for that, you might have to like say, as a paladin of Seamorph, that you protect him from. Because you're saying, I mean, realistically, we're delivering him to the den of his enemies. He might try to get some protection from you.
Makes sense. I wouldn't be able to promise that he wouldn't get thrown in a cell. I'd be able to promise that he'd get there safely.
Or maybe get a fair treatment as well.
Yeah, fair treatment, of course.
It depends how much you trust the regent princess.
She's my monarch, of course I trust her. Got no reason to doubt her.
First, we just need to get into the city.
Yeah.
I'm game with rocking up in Baron Phoenix. Fancy
No, you
carriage.
Yeah, I wanted to do that.
Because Flightless checked out their tax records, so since he has keen mind, he remembers the details. So we could do some research as well, like in the law libraries, before we do anything, to see exactly what was ignored, so we can actually have some precise things to get him on.
Sure.
You know, like tax code 1 section A, you can't tax X% of your people, and then see if he broke that, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough. I feel like Eleanor would know that stuff pretty inside and out. Always good to have it in writing.
Would we have access to such a, I guess, source of knowledge?
Yeah, probably. What's the question that you need to know?
I just sort of put together to see if, like, has the Lord actually done anything legally wrong? Or is this a purely civil matter of just saying it's been unfair?
Yeah,
Right.
I think we basically want to like build a little case so that when we go to see him, we're like, "Hey, you're
not allowed to raise your taxes this much this quickly." It says it right here, and you can't raise your taxes 1864, like Section A, by 10%.
Right.
Yes, I'm not sure if he's actually violated any particular law. I'm not sure if there is a law against saying taxes absurdly high. I think it's more of a sort of common sense thing.
Well, then, in that case, there's probably a few cases setting out that common sense. It was like, it's persuasive law, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, it's like...
where it's just like, there's no law, but like 10 years ago when Lord Barry tried to do it, like raise it 10%, that was unfair, and you did it like 20%, so I think that's still unfair. Like you can see from the past, this is unfair.
Yeah, there's a legitimacy to the argument you're trying to make, but it pales in comparison to to the actual crime of sedition. Like murder is a lesser charge than sedition in most feudal societies, and Cormier is no exception. So raising taxes doesn't even bat an eyelid. It's like not paying the fine to your government and being arrested for that. But then again, no, I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent now.
Gotten for like a parking ticket.
That was exactly the point that I was going to
make. That's what we're trying to do. We're like, we've got this small thing that requires you to go to Suso. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
but Al Capone had already beaten the charges of murder beforehand. You know, they couldn't pin the murders on him. So that was like a last resort. Yeah,
Plus,
yeah,
this is
and that was
also-
also a lawful society.
also
You know, the
just an
FBI have
excuse.
complete power over the US.
It's just an excuse to get him to Suzail, and then the regent could turn around and say, yeah, about that succession, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
perfectly
the idea
legitimate,
that
like
he's
perfectly
gonna,
legitimate strategy. Yeah,
the idea that he's going to come with us voluntarily just seems totally far fetched. He's already in open rebellion against the crown.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
Why would he ever
exactly.
agree to
If
come
he-
with us?
I suppose there's one
Yeah.
thing I should verify then. Did the princess ask us to bring him to her? I can't remember. Or are we doing this of our own volition? Can't remember.
I don't think those are direct. I think she said it would be good if we did, but I can't remember exactly.
If it was kind of vague, then I don't want to ignite the sparks of civil war. If it was a direct order, like I want him before me now, then I wouldn't hesitate. But if it was more of a sort of vague, it would be nice. I don't want to, make things really bad for
The
her.
truth is, she got bigger things on her plate. Like, you know, her courtroom is literally being breathed upon by dragons. So, you know, chasing
True.
people up for not paying taxes is probably not high on the list of priorities.
No.
So it's a valid strategy, but as Sildarin said, it's unlikely to work.
Maybe we
Well,
should just
I think
go.
we just have to be prepared that once we get into his physical presence, that we're just going to have to take him into custody and face the consequences of that if we actually want to take him back to Suzail.
Because remember, it's
I was
also
gonna say,
called. It's
maybe
very
we should,
unlikely. Because let's say we give forth our voluntary, involuntary, like invitation, and he declines it. He's very unlikely to try to have us attacked in his courtroom.
No.
Because that's him sparking up the conflict, not us.
Mm.
And plus, there's probably some sort of like noble rule, like "eat my bread, you're safe in my house" sort of thing.
I don't know.
Kind of like "Thou shalt not rebel against your king."
See, the issue is that he's a rebel. We all know he's a rebel. I think everyone knows he's a rebel. But
I guess it's just how much of a Cormyrean is he? Because by his perspective, he might just be because Jesna might be more legitimate than the Crown Regent in his perspective. So in all other ways, he might still act as a Cormyrean might.
Well, I mean, he might not attack us, but if we just want to leave without him, he'll probably let us do that. But that's not really what we came here for. And there's no way Moog is walking out of there without him.
Yeah, if Moog was here, he would definitely say, "I'm just going to kick in the door," because
this is a
based on the
valid
kind
point.
of player that I've seen him do.
I think we need to focus on getting into his presence, and then we know what's going to happen if he doesn't agree to come with us, which he's not going to do.
Invite him, and then be more forceful with the invite, and see where it goes from there, I guess.
The thing that just gives me pause is that by violently taking him with us, it will how to put it? Like it's kind of almost like a Cold War at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
A civil war. And this
that's sort of a shield on both ends.
War. Yeah, like the whole country could crumble around us as a result of this. Like it seems like a small thing, like we're just arresting a dude, but you know, the death of Archduke Ferdinand caused the bloodiest war in human history. It's a little thing, but it could
one dude setting in.
It could set in motion a chain of events that destroy the country.
Potentially.
Well, don't we want him to try and stabilize the country? That wasn't the whole point that we.
Yeah, so like if we
bring him in,
if
so
we
that
mishandle
dwarves
this,
won't leave.
We'll do more damage than if we did nothing at all.
But it would be funny if we destroyed the country. It can erase from the ashes with King Finnick. No?
There we go. A Harengon Empire. The Cormyr is just the beginning.
That hammerhead could be a duke.
There we go. Brilliant.
Well then, perhaps.
I suppose he also knows everything we're discussing as well. So going to Sue's and just dealing with this small, like this parking ticket that is the dwarves might be a better deal than, making it a hot wall. But again, it's we actually need to speak to him to get like where he's at and what his goals are.
Yeah.
Get his perspective.
I guess how will we find him? Will we ask around?
I honestly still think just riding in on the carriage with trumpets playing will probably announce us to royalty, and then we'll be pointed in the direction of him.
I don't know. I'm not sure
Cough,
about
cough.
that.
Ah, I think this Regent's a bit of a bitch.
Well, he's a fairly minor noble. We might attract the attention of bigger fish, like Eleanor's family or Jesnar's.
I thought he was more important than Eleanor's family.
Vaughn, I'm not sure.
Wait, he's a duke.
No.
What's her family?
No, he's a count. He's a
count? I thought he was a duke. He's nothing. How are we here?
Higher than you.
For now.
For now.
Finnick's got plans.
No, I mean, at least in Crusader Kings, Baron is above a duke. No, not above a duke, above a count.
Is it? Are you sure?
Crusader, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so. But, I don't know.
To Google this.
Pretty sure it goes Baron, Count, Earl, Duke, royal family.
Yeah, a baron is the first, that's the first title.
Yeah, just above
Crusader
landowning.
Kings has lied to me.
No, it goes Baron, Count, Duke.
This is the order for Cormier according to the wiki.
Yeah, because barons control a single holding known as a barony within a county.
I mistaked those two things for a second. It's fine.
Cool.
It's fine. The moment I offer Eleanor's family, I'll have two holdings.
Exactly. That's right.
Well then, I guess if we're going to ask around as to where is his location, asking other nobles is probably the best way to do it. But the question is, do we just ask? Be direct. I mean, technically, if we're just going to say, hey, you've been a bit fucky with your taxes, you need to answer to the princess for this. That's a pretty legitimate reason to ask around after him, and a pretty legitimate reason to summon him. That's nothing to do with the rebellion, so I don't think we have to be that cloak and dagger about it.
I mean, especially if we just come in saying, hey, I'm a paladin of Theomorph, and something's not right here.
Yeah.
We knock him out, throw him in the bag of holding, and get it a dodge.
That is a good point, though. If he refuses, do we get violent or not?
Moog does.
Right.
Yeah, Moog would get violent for sure. So that's what we'll do.
I mean, well, let's start. If he gets violent, there's nothing we. I mean, it might, because like we're saying with the sparking the civil war thing, it might even be better if he chooses violence for us just to back out.
True. Although all people on the outside would see is us carrying his unconscious body away, and then his allies spin it.
No, I mean literally just dip. Like throw down fog and leave.
Fair enough.
Because then we can say we came peacefully to talk about a small tax issue, and he literally attacked us in the streets. Because
I guess,
so he loses. Because since it's just a Cold War, even his successionist buddies will have to throw him out because no one wants to start a hot war.
Yeah, so I guess we just ride into the city. We just ask around to nobility and see if we can ascertain his whereabouts. Ask for an audience with the reasons given. During the audience, assuming we get it, tell him about the injustices that he's committed against Half-Half, and that we insist he go see the princess to explain himself.
And one argument, because it's like aren't there more important issues going on at the time? You can bring up noble uglies and say that's not my job. My job is this.
To which I would then retort, in times of such instability, why are you here not managing your
No,
estate?
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if they say there are more important things, you could retort saying, "It is not my job to fix Cormier. It's my job to fix like these tyrannies." Making sure everyone is doing their job, and your job is, avoiding tyranny.
Yeah.
But again, it just depends what he says at the time.
And it'll be Moog's 2 favorite words.
What's that?
Roll initiative.
Roll initiative.
I thought they were going to be the ones.
That's good. All right, well then, I think we kind of have a plan. We just be direct about it. Like we're perfectly legitimate in our intentions, so there's no reason to be cloak and dagger.
All right, Finnick, give me one of those flash cloaks. Time to play dress up.
Yep. There you go. The more people that wear it, the more Finnick's ego gets inflated.
Brilliant.
That's precisely why I'm not wearing mine.
Ah,
And I spent 1,500 gold on that. You're going to turn it down?
Yes.
Very rude.
Nobles have spent more on less.
huh.
I mean, I did buy it last week because you said yes, but then we did have a different plan, so it has changed.
True.
I suppose let's get the plan rolling then.
All right.
Roll on in.
All right. So there we are on the outskirts of Marsemba, in our snazzy stagecoach, which is already attracting a lot of attention. What do we do next?
I think we drive into the city and ask the appropriate people who might know where he is, which would be his peers, I imagine.
Excellent. Yeah. So where do we find these people, and how do we frame the question?
Well, my family would be the obvious answer, but out of character, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that, seeing as how I haven't written anything about them and how it all
Well,
has
I
to be made up
suppose-
on the spot.
Even in character, you might not be comfortable with doing it because, like, there's you don't know what their allegiance is, and your father has the legal and cultural right to say, get inside and go to your room, and then what do you do? So even in character, that might not be a great idea.
I suppose a lot of the families you would have been friendly with, because you've lived here a long time, so you might just be able to invite yourself into someone else's home, like another noble's home, and ask questions.
Yeah, just
That's right. You might have like a childhood friend or something like that.
any other noble, basically.
Excellent. So you go to a courtier. We'll call her Lily. But you're going to attract a lot of attention with your wagon. That's kind of the point, right? Like we're not trying to be incognito at this stage. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say we're trying to be stealthy, although Eleanor would be a little, rubbing her temples at this gaudy display.
I mean, the original plan was to completely show off Finnick and then make him claim to be an ally of the Count. It's completely changed the plan. I've already bought all the stuff. It's not like I can turn it back.
True, but
Indeed.
this is very Finnick.
All right, Finnick. Well, let's say, I guess in that case, it's in your hands to some degree. What do you want to do? Do you want to continue with that original plan and announce your intention to find the Count so that you can talk Count things, or talk noble things, or not? Or are we
No, I
gonna
don't mind the
go
new plan.
We still would go with the original plan, just minus the I want to join the rebels bit.
Uh-huh.
Just more of a sort of
It wasn't fully out there. That was the original plan. Announcing my new... Seeing... when you were like, you're new to a table and you're like, you want to weigh up your options before you pick a side?
Absolutely.
Ah, the
Well,
princess
maybe
is
a
offering me a
card's
county. What am I going to get for joining your side? Yeah, that sort of thing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, go with
Like
that.
a bargain saver. You got to see what match my discount.
Price match.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. Price match.
I guess Flightless will also just be
Okay.
watching, just keeping an eye out to make sure that, you know, the dodgy people just sort of sneak off as we travel through the town and stuff like that. See if we're being followed.
Sure. All right. Make an insight check here to watch that. Look, you're being followed by everyone. Cormyrians love nobility, and they love feudalism. Even in the hotbed of Republican sentiment. And your arrival is quite welcome, quite intriguing. Marsember doesn't seem to have suffered the same amount of destruction that Suzail, the capital, had, primarily because there aren't purple worms and dragons being unleashed on the town. But it's still got smashed windows and seditionists. There are still fires burning that nobody's putting out, and um, general certain streets are blocked by debris or by bandits. But um, we are accosted by such bandits. They completely underestimate our potency, and so they stop our wagon. There's a group of maybe a dozen of them. They have maces and whips and other objects that can be lethal, but are traditionally not thought of as lethal. Thugs, essentially. How do we deal with a situation where a dozen men stop us and demand our jewels?
I think I'll personally deliver some Cormyrian justice
At the edge of a sword?
with the flat of my halberd.
Sure. So you just knock men away, and they hit you with their wooden club on your steel armor, and immediately regret it. Um,
Yeah, but
it doesn't take long. Yeah.
essentially cripple limbs and make a show of how futile trying to resist is, so that once most have run away and the foolish few decided to stay are in absolute agony, I think my point has been made.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And that attracts a different sort of attention, the attention of the downtrodden, the very victims of thugs such as these. They complain might be the wrong word, but they appeal to your sense of justice and chivalry. They appeal to your chivalry. My children haven't eaten this week. My house burned down. My son was beaten into a coma. What do we do with these individuals who are brave enough to appeal to us, but they claim they have nothing, but we have no evidence that that's the case?
How many of there are? How many is there of them?
Small groups, but if we treat some well, then it's only going to attract more, like flies to shit. So initially, maybe less than 10, but that number might very well expand.
Gotta act like typical nobility. I'm just going to sit in my carriage and close the shutters.
Brilliant, brilliant. They wail and sing Republican songs.
I'll give them a. I don't really do I have a notebook or anything to write on. Not that I can see. Does anybody else have any writing materials, perchance?
I have some pen and paper. Yeah.
I'll ask for the name of a local tavern, whatever's close by to this area. I'll ask them to write a list of some of their worst grievances, and that later tonight I'll be down at the tavern and I'll collect the list and I'll see to it as soon as possible.
All right, Now, naturally, they would prefer to have, immediate recompense right now. Give me money, give me money. But
with
the
the
fact
purple
that
money, of course.
oh
With
yeah.
I'd give the responsibility of writing out the grievances and the purse of money to whoever looks like the most trustworthy, or whoever
Sure.
has what's called a reputable title, like somebody who owns a successful shop in the area or something like that. Someone
Cool.
who's not just a guy.
I suppose for like this can also just screen people because his insight's quite good.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So you find the family of a purple dragon knight or something like that. Their cousin owns an inn, and they're staunch rather staunch loyalists. Um, and you give them the authority to help the poor, to set up a soup kitchen, if you will, and people start writing out their grievances, and this is progress. It might not be what they wanted, but making a committee is not a bad way to appease a disgruntled populace. Um, you're taking some action, and they appreciate.
yeah, and with it, I'll give a purse of, let's say, 200. Why not? 200 gold pieces to address
That's a
any
huge
immediate
purse.
concerns, such as
That's yeah.
my uncle's dying and needs a doctor or something like that.
Precisely, and 200 gold pieces will probably serve as roughly 200 families. A gold piece goes a long way when you have absolutely nothing. You need bread, or medical assistance or something. It won't buy a healing potion, but it will get you an appointment with a doctor.
And I'll
All right.
fully intend to collect that list
Yeah.
later on.
Indeed. This is not just a politician's promise. This is something that you hope to address in good time. Are you still trying to find a friend of Eleanor to appeal to talk to?
I think Finnick is trying to build up his rep in the area and try and make connections and find Vaughn that way.
Excellent, Finnick. Can you make what is a skill in 5e? In 3e you'd use like gather information, but now I guess it's a persuasion roll, I suppose. You can have advantage on your persuasion since money is a great way for loosening lips. Good. They tell you where to find Count Vaughan's summer house. It's down by the coast, down on the docks, or not the docks, but the waterfront. That's a better word. It's down on the waterfront. It's a 4-story tall building, tightly packed in among other expensive houses. It's a very modern building. And you're given the address, but it's not isolated. It has its own yard, it has its own garden, and but the whole property is no bigger than a quarter acre, say roughly. Uh, uh, 100, 200 feet on one side, 100, 200 feet on the other side. Not very big, but big enough that it stands on its own without having to share walls with its neighbors. All right, so we found their place.
Suppose we could just head there, or do you need to be invited first? It's the proper social etiquette.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, probably sending like a messenger to speak to their messenger. Getting the diplomats to do diplomatic things is probably standard protocol.
And just sending the letter saying like Lady Eleanor and like Baron Finnick are available. Just basically saying they're here, and you sort of need to let them in.
Yeah.
Now, who to deliver this message?
Well, do we want to use Eleanor's family name, or do we want to keep that under wraps in case her family actually gets involved?
There's Baron Finnick and the representative of Seamorph if you really wanted to keep it secret.
I'd be inclined to just say Baron Finnick.
I guess it's up to Finnick.
True. It does seem a bit rude to spark that you're bringing an Inquisitor with you, without like announcing it.
We're worried about being rude now.
I mean, I suppose it's ruder to say you're here and then bring police officers in with you.
It's going to be a lot
Like,
ruder when we
unannounced,
punch
I
him
mean.
in the face.
Yeah, like I think Moog is going to be rude, like inevitably. Yeah.
Maybe just announce Baron Finnick. Because at the current moment, I am
Alright.
to what Lady Eleanor hates, higher rank, and you announce the highest
Yeah.
rank. So Lady Eleanor was higher rank than me. You would just announce Lady Eleanor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess Flightless with his
Would
hat
assume.
disguise can make himself look like a servant, and he can just like deliver the message just to make sure it gets through.
All right. Okay. So did you say who was delivering the message? Did you say?
I think
can't
Flightless
speak-
Yes.
disguised.
Speak though, right?
Good
mean-
point.
I don't think servants need to speak. It's just he has a letter. To just pop in, like put it up, like knock on the door, hand it to the first person, or hand it to. Not, I don't know the word. Like like the quartermaster of the
The
servants.
butler, yeah, the major
Yeah,
domo.
that's the
Yeah,
whoever
exactly.
that guy is. Just make sure the letter is
Yeah,
delivered to
sure.
that person.
Normally
Alright,
you'd say
brilliant.
something though, no?
Well, yeah, you would want to say hello, or at the very minimum, you know.
He can say hello. Like he can walking through town. I'm sure he's heard someone say hello at some point in his life.
Or we
Not
could give him
everyone's
the
got
line we wanted to say. Someone could go really like low commoner voice. A letter for me, Lord, and then give it. You know,
Yeah.
and we can repeat that.
There we go.
Absolutely.
So we just need to quote some Holy Grail lines and off you go.
Precisely. All right. Okay, that's good. So we send off Flightless in his disguise. He probably has some nice lederhosen that go up to his lovely masculine thighs, and a puffy frilly neck piece and some oversized shoulder pads. It's all very modern. It's all very trendy.
Has to
And
have a hat with bunny ears.
the latest trend. No worries, Sylvan. And you find the tenement house or that's the wrong word. You find the townhouse by itself, 4 stories tall, recently painted. Its gardens are in relatively good condition. This part of the of town is pretty heavily patrolled by both legitimate and illegitimate forces. That is house guards and the kind of militias of thugs that are loyal to the Republican movement. So you're first pressed by the thugs. Uh, what are you doing here? Get out of town! And pelting you with rocks and so on.
Actually, I was going to say my plan would be to try to sneak past the illegitimate thugs.
All right, go ahead and make a stealth.
It may not appear it, but Flightless is in fact a rogue.
Uh-huh.
Or as Moog would describe a paladin.
Indeed, same thing.
That's a 19.
It's a great roll, and so you push past the various thugs and illegitimate forces until you're practically at the front door of this estate, and that's when you're finally not exactly apprehended, but rather noticed by some Landknecht, some halberdiers who are dressed much the way you are, with their lederhosen and their frilly bits and their stripy pants and so on. Their clothing's a bit dirty, slightly torn, and showing a small amount of blood stain upon it. Though it's not the blood of the soldiers, they don't look harmed at all. Somebody else's blood. Um, uh, uh, what are you doing in the anywhere near the estate of the Vaughan family?
And I suppose, act appropriately for a servant, avoid eye contact, like, head down, looking at the floor. Then he's sort of, a delivery, my lord.
Oh, delivery, is it? Well, I'll take it, says some guy out in the street carrying a halberd, wearing a breastplate.
Does it have Vaughn's sign on it?
It does, but he's a very dirty fellow. Looks like a guard as opposed to, I don't know, well, a major domo or a butler or anything.
So it's like, I suppose he holds up the, I suppose, show there's like, it's to the butler, my lord.
He looks up at the house, and you see that they've boarded shut their windows. This is a nice house, and it's got a nice garden. And it's so unusual to see that they've gone to the trouble of boarding up their windows, as if curtains weren't enough. But all the same, I don't want to pay the window tax. Make a legitimate thing. Hey, make a persuasion roll to see if they'll accept your argument.
Ooh.
They do.
Just that protocol be strong.
Indeed, that is the right way to go about it. So they take you in through the gates, which a few of them have been bent and damaged recently, and you go into the nice garden with its rose bushes and other ornaments, statues that have yet to be vandalized. When you come to the front door, you find more landknecht, more halberdiers, who are guarding. The entrance to this house goes like this. There's a path through the garden that leads to I call it a portcullis, but that's maybe a little bit extravagant. It's like a cage or a the old-fashioned metal nets that you find on really old elevators. The 1920s elevators. They would pull down that metal cage and then they would pull it across. And you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, cool. So it's basically got one of those. It's a gauze, if you will, a portcullis. And behind that portcullis is where the landknechts stand, and behind them is the front door. Delivery for the butler, and they roll up the cage and they knock on the door, and a, uh, a, a, a a pale man with dark hair, a fine dress, comes out, and he only appears to be quite young, perhaps in his mid-20s. Fairly young for someone to hold a position of authority. A butler is basically the chief among servants. And he says, "What is this about?"
A letter for the lord, my sir.
I see. And he takes the letter. For which lord?
Vorsh? Lord Vorsh? My apologies.
Which Lord Vaughan?
Vaughan?
Which Lord Vaughan?
Do we have a first name for him?
I don't think so. We haven't heard it, at least.
Count Vaughn?
Yeah, try Count Vaughan.
Count Vaughan?
Ah.
I suppose just look like a sort of worried, like, I have no idea. I'm just doing what my master told me, look.
Very well, wait here.
And I suppose also handing, like, an additional envelope with paper for, like, the response.
Uh-huh.
Just that unspoken, we expect a response.
Sure. He returns maybe 15 minutes later without your letter of response. The Baron is summoned to an evening of an evening to dine. Will the Baron be available tonight?
Just asking a peasant, but I will let him know, my lord.
Then we shall be expecting you tonight. If you are unable to make it, send your apologies.
Yes, my lord.
And you are dismissed and allowed to go on your way without further harassment.
And then I guess sneak past the thugs again.
Easy enough.
And I guess just replicate the responses.
Very good.
Very good. I'm wondering, to appear more of a lord, I do have those 6 sets of Cormorant plate. Should I hire some peasants to be wearing them?
Ah.
Or should I just leave it?
I think they would give themselves away fairly quickly.
Or not? Or just hire someone for the day to wear them?
Some actors.
Rabbit
It's
Lord
better
with
to
his
leave it.
pumpkin bodyguards.
You just go to like the university for like the student actors. Like, I'll give you 3 coppers to wear this armor and look knightly.
Put their nose in the air, and that's their job done.
Like, you might get a
Carry their
freebie out of it.
halberds. Would that be a good idea, though, or not?
It's up to
suppose-
you. It's your Lord Finnick.
Again, back to the disguise, Flightless could just make himself look like he's wearing a Cormorian plate and act like as your bodyguard.
It's just more for the procession, so that we can march down, and then they can just look after the carriage as we go in. Be like. But then, to be honest, we do have Morg just looking after the carriage. I don't think we need them.
Sure.
That should be
Yeah,
fine.
Moog is a little hungover, so while he would normally want to come in with this, he'll have to just wait in the carriage.
Oh no, he did say last time we were here that he would be defending the carriage. That was his thing. He was going to act as the dwarven
Oh.
servant. It added much to my ego.
Yeah. Dwarves make good manservants. They're shorter than you are. And
Which
know,
is
so
why
it's
I'm
easier
gonna-
to look down on them.
Which is why I'm going to say a lot of shit during the session that I won't say when he's back the next session.
Ha! Brilliant. Very wise.
Really easy to look down your nose at them.
And I guess
Very
Flightless
easy.
will make himself look like a taller, like more imposing, like bodyguard.
Sweet. So I
Yeah.
suppose just filter around town until the agreed upon time.
And I guess
All
dressed in
right.
your rabbit garb, Sildarin would kind of look like a bodyguard as well.
So Darren's my
Huh.
personal priest. He comes everywhere with me.
Your confessor.
Cleanses
we-
the sins of those who don't believe I'm a baron.
Right.
Since we're waiting till the
Burning
evening,
the unbelievers.
Exactly.
since we're waiting till the evening to attend this meeting, I'll
Yeah.
show up to that tavern I mentioned and collect the paper as I promised I
I
would.
guess. How long ago was the fire knife like meeting with the magic items?
Several days.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. Probably 2 days. The list of grievances is about 200 long, and some of them are pretty legitimate, and some of them are pretty petty. But no doubt you'll be able to cover those when you have more time to do so.
Yeah, I'll roll it up and make sure I'll get to that at some point.
All right. So it's 8 p.m. and we are standing outside the front of Vaughan's estate. We have we have gone through the process of paying off whoever needs to be paid off and scaring off whoever needs to be scared away. Now we are in our wagon, or some of us are maybe driving the wagon, as a servant should be, out the front of this lovely tenement house with a nice garden that is relatively undamaged, that has had its windows boarded up in a pretty efficient way. It's not like a bodge job where they've just slapped some timber and nailed it into place, but they've actual handymen seem to have walled up the windows with wood. There are several balconies to this building, particularly on the higher levels.
Interesting that they felt the need to barricade their estate.
Hard times or defense?
Guess we'll soon find out.
All right. So as for mentioned earlier, there is a wrought iron gate, that portcullis I described, that leads into an archway of a portico, kind of an entranceway. And within that entranceway, there are a pair of landnecht, those well-dressed, elaborate halberdiers that I mentioned earlier. I'll just quickly, yep, that's working. So here we are. The land next see that you have your appropriate invitation, and so they step aside as best as they're able to in this rather tight map, and open the door.
I
Are we
guess.
supposed to be looking at the map of the house now?
Yeah, can you see it?
I
Are we on the
still,
right map?
I still see the map of the map.
I think refresh your page because I moved over.
Yeah, I can see it.
Right. Yeah, try refreshing it. Yeah.
And I guess
Reloading
as
it.
correct, like this will follow just behind, like his charge.
I'll probably just follow Slytherin. I don't know why that went into my menu.
I think you'd be ahead, and both of us
Slytherin.
would be behind you.
So just waiting for my roll 20 to load. So I was hoping to just say I'll follow him when my thing loads in.
Excellent.
And
You will find Lord Vaughan is currently preoccupied. If you would care to be entertained by his brother, he can be found within the gallery. And they gesture past the gate, past the foyer, and into the main hall of the building.
Make sure to be very careful with my halberd to not bump or poke anything with it.
The place is quite well fortified. You don't spot any women, only men. And the men that are here are armed, whether with halberds or great swords or otherwise. They're all dressed quite, I was going to say impeccably, but their clothing is a little bit dirty, a little bit soiled, a little bit smelly. But they're wearing the latest styles. Those frilly necks and tights and puffy clothing that is popular in among the wealthy upper class. Right this way, they say, directing you out of the entranceway, out of the foyer, and into the main hall.
Sorry to be a pain, Arctic, but I can seem to be
Yeah.
only able to see through the dragon and not through Finnick.
I mustn't have set it up correctly. Or maybe there's just no light. That might be the trouble. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Um, let me see for myself. Yeah, cool. That's not working. You're absolutely
Finnick not
right.
have dark vision?
Nah, I don't have dark vision on Finnick. I've got goggles of night vision.
Right, cool. This place should be illuminated anyway. So I'll go ahead and add torches basically to every room. That won't take long.
Well, I can see. Like the dynamic lighting is on, but when I move around, I can see.
I can see now the lights are there.
Okay, cool.
Sweet. Wait, was it this one?
Yeah. Is that torch? I'll put
This is
a light in
beefy
each
boy.
room. Hopefully that'll work. It'll take a bit of time, but not a lot of time. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe a bit less. Probably less. Probably 2 minutes.
This is one paranoid count.
Right.
Yeah,
He
that's
was
that's a
expecting
valid
us.
observation. Yeah. His soldiers are particularly well armed. Their equipment is in good condition. And there's a lot of them. When you walk into the main chamber, as you've already done, and I'll keep putting down the torches while I talk, you'll see that it's a nice place. You go through the main hall, and you can see that there's a black marble fireplace on the left-hand side and a sweeping red marble staircase on the other. The black marble fireplace is probably worth hundreds of gold pieces, and the staircase is probably worth thousands. There are wood panelled walls, and a cloakroom, and at the top of that staircase are a series of crossbowmen who have their crossbows ready. They're not braced. They are they're not braced, and
But they are strong, though.
they're not. Yeah, they are strong. That's right. Yeah. So it wouldn't take much for them to brace them to aim and to fire. These guys here don't appear to be Landsknecht, such as the guards on the front. They are less heavily armored. They don't have breastplates, but they are big dudes, big fat fellows. Each of them weighing in excess of 200 pounds. You are directed towards the gallery, where this room down here. And in that room, you will find it's like a hunter's den. There's a stag's head mounted over the fireplace, a bunch of stuffed wolves, some padded chairs and an oak table, a cask of wine, several goblets, some pipes for smoking, and a chandelier. You also find within there a young man. He's probably no more than 20, 21, 22 years old. Um, and he sits at a table looking forlorn. His clothing is neat, but slightly soiled. His hair is pulled back and a little bit greasy, and this gentleman stands as you enter and invites you to sit. Baron, he says, you have been expected. Your reputation precedes you. I had not been aware that there were any barons of a non-human variety in Cormyr until I learned that you have been granted title within the realm of Gloriana. But does that truly make you Cormyrian? For are not those lands outside the reach of the royal family now?
They may be for the moment, but I plan to build a grand, well, civilization's the wrong word there. Towards independence. Grand barony there. Soon, hopefully, a county. So I can reclaim the land from the barbarians.
A very worthy task indeed, he says, and he pours you wine himself. Normally servants would pour it, but given that you are a baron, it's not unprecedented for a lesser noble to pour wine for a greater noble. Indeed, it's something of a sign of I don't know, submission, I suppose. And so, might I inquire what this formal dinner is all about?
It's more really between me and your brother. I would assume the Count, your brother?
Yes, indeed, my brother is the Count. I often take care of his affairs, however, and it is my task to uh, to play host when my brother is indisposed. He is finding these times to be troubling, and that is setting him on edge, you must understand.
Yes, very understanding with the whole thing about to maybe impose on itself. Civil war. Dirty business.
He sighs. It is. Would that it does not come to that, but I fear that the cat has already been let out of the bag, and that there is no putting it back in now. So I must ask, Baron, where do you stand if it were to be war? Uh, where would your allegiance lie?
Ah, that is why I'm here. As a relatively new baron, I've inherited it from family who I never met, so I'm not going to carry on their allegiances. I've already met with the princess, and I've come to meet. I want to get a good understanding of all grounds before I commit myself to a side.
That seems awfully mercenary.
Well, it's more like I want to find out their principles and then our principles, because I'm, as you can tell, not a human. So I may not know quite what I should about Cormyrian law and principles. Just got to know what's worth fighting for.
He weighs your words carefully and nods. It doesn't seem to find fault with them. Yes, I understand, I believe. Well, the royal family, the Boreskirs, have made no secret of their favoritism towards the human race. Indeed, as I mentioned, I was not aware that there even were royals who were not part of human society, though I understand that on the borderlands, in the Stone Lands and Gloriana, that the decrees of the late King Azun IV, blessed be his name, are were those fresh decrees invited people such as yourselves to go and settle in these wild hinterlands. Um, but uh, perhaps, yeah, there is something that I can clarify for you. My brother has given me authority to speak on his behalf. Uh, uh, how is it that we can begin these negotiations? For you are not here to test my supper, I suspect, but rather have more important matters that have brought you to our humble home.
Yes, I've come. Well, you keep mentioning me not being human. What is the Count and his allies' perspective on other people having ranks that aren't human?
The Republicans are meritocrats. They believe that people's capabilities are more important than their heritage, than their appearance, than their bloodlines. Indeed, that is the beauty of republicanism, in my opinion, that uh, those who deserve the power are the ones who have earned it.
Whereas with the Queen, is the opposite. I would assume by your argument here.
Well, I think that the evidence speaks for itself, no? The Cormyr has always been a land for humanity, and while I will not deny that they have been welcoming to dwarves and elves and halflings in the past, uh, the more unique races have always struggled to find themselves at a position of influence. Even the dwarves, whose lands these were apparently once upon a time, have been delegated to nothing but second-class citizens. Given autonomy, yes, but still made to bear the yoke of humankind.
Very true. I've often been laughed at when I've claimed myself as a baron and not taken seriously. But speaking of dwarfs, what's your take on your brother's taxation, taxing them off of their lands? Wouldn't call that quite helping the lesser races, or not lesser, but not
Oh,
human.
you are You are referring to the dwarves of the Stormhorns to the north, I assume?
So I travelled through there from my lands, up in the Stormlands.
My understanding is that they are rebels. That their plots to secede from the nation of Cormyr would only weaken the nation as a whole. Whether it remains under the control of the monarchy or if we should find ourselves in a new system. The weakening of breakaway provinces will only be like a rat gnawing at the floorboards, undermining the strength of this great nation. How do you feel about this?
True leaving, but from what I've heard from their side, I like to get both sides, is that it's the taxation that is driving them out. It's too much.
That is unfortunate. I admit that I did not understand the exact cause for their grievances. I had assumed that it was a question of pride. More than anything, the dwarves are a proud race, and perhaps they deserve to be such, to have such pride. Yet, if this is an issue of taxation, then perhaps there is some other alternative. Maybe the dwarves would be willing to send soldiers, for example, to instead of paying a tithe in coin, they could pay a tithe in steel and blood. Would that not be fair? Is it not legitimate for a lord to declare his banners to serve him at will?
That is true, but I cannot speak on behalf of the dwarfs. They, like the Cormyrians, do not really respect my role. Me as a baron.
I was hearing it's like
Uh,
as if given a signal, he'll actually give given the tax records to Eleanor, so that so they're actually in the room, so they can be used. So they may be presented, but again, that's obviously too much. But we'll see. But they're just there for you to use if you want.
Yeah, I'll pass them over to Finnick as he mentions the taxes.
Okay. I'll start rifling through them and handing out the important ones on the table.
He seems to be genuinely surprised by what he's reading. I admit that this is excessive. I was not aware that such demands had been made. He grows uncomfortable, twitching in his chair from side to side. You have not touched your wine? Nor has he.
It's best to conduct business before pleasure.
I understand.
And you haven't touched yours.
I do not drink. It is merely for show. I must admit, my appetite is not what it once was, and I have never been one to indulge in vices. I like to keep a clear head. I find that it is the purview of rulers to indulge, and it is the responsibility of we humble servants to remain clear, to maintain some clarity. I have neither hunger nor thirst. Can I interest you in some hors d'oeuvres, some snacks, and some entrees?
No, thank you.
Are you concerned that you seem to be unreceptive to these offerings? It is not my place to challenge you, my lord, and this is not what I am attempting to do. I simply want to understand. Do you feel uncomfortable?
No, I wish merely to keep this as a business meeting, rather than as a social gathering.
Do you not wish to be my friend?
Business first, forging friendships later.
To business then. How can we, the Vorn family, help you, my lord?
Seeing as I am not a human, I want to know that there's justice here. What will be done about this dwarven problem that has happened? so that I may feel comfortable if I joined their side. If I was wronged, it would be sorted and not just ignored because I wasn't a human.
You are very concerned with this dwarven issue, I see, and yet I am under the understanding that your lands are nowhere near these dwarves. Why are you taking it so personal?
I couldn't care less about the dwarves. They could all die for I care. But if they're being mistreated very badly, and I, another non-human, come in and pledge allegiance to this side and also get treated non-badly, is it not my fault for not looking at how you blighted them and turning a blind eye and allowing it to happen to myself?
I find no fault with your proposition. Let me speak plainly, Baron, he says, putting his fingers on the ridge of his nose, and you notice how long his fingernails are, a good half-inch beyond the tip of his fingers. Perhaps that's the style, perhaps not. Let me speak plainly, my lord. I am concerned that whatever promises are made shall be naught but wind, naught but words on paper. When all is said and done, this country that I do so love is going to burn. I am speaking from my own heart now. I am not following an official line. I am not being my brother's mouthpiece. I wish that it had never come to this, my lord. I wish that the king had never disappeared. Indeed, I wish that Azun IV had never died. Though a man of his age deserves rest, and I would not deny it to him. Yet this country is on the brink of splitting apart. There must be something that we can do to prevent this. I feel like this game that we are playing, this game of courtiers tearing at each other, is disrupting a nation that I do so love, and it fills me with great dismay. Would that I had any power whatsoever. I would give you every assurance in the world that you would not be treated unfairly. And yet, what good are my assurances? I can offer you nothing concrete, save for promises. And I feel as if promises and fealty and oaths are not worth the words that are spoken in times such as this. Is there anything concrete that we can do to reassure you, to make you see that our course is just?
Let me have a quick word with my advisor.
Of course, of course. Would you like the room to yourselves? I would be happy to depart and give you your privacy, my lord. I do not wish to intrude upon your decision.
Yes, that would be good. We can discuss, and when you come back, we can lay it all on the table. No more me trying to dodge around the questions I'm wanting to ask. But I must
course
first speak to my Chimerian advisor, so I don't dig myself into a law hole by accident.
It will be as you wish, he says. Those of you who are in the room can make a perception check.
Sad flightless sounds.
He's just barely not in the room.
I mean, I'm deliberately standing
Indeed.
outside, looking outwards. You're getting, I suppose,
Alright.
you're getting a gauge of like how the guards are standing, like what their poses. Like, I guess the idea is trying to catch an ambush just before it happens. Is I guess the idea.
Sure, you can make an insight check at the same time, Flightless. But Eleanor and Sildarin, there are some glasses on the table, a bottle of wine as well, and the table is quite polished. In fact, so polished that you can see Finnick's reflection in the glasses and on the table and so on. But you don't see the reflection of your host.
Hmm.
Flightless, these guys are ready for combat. It's not so much that they're expecting a fight to break out; it's that they're wanting one. That is the fat guys, anyway.
They're more tense
The
than the guards
crossbowed
should be.
ears. Yeah, exactly. That's right. More boisterous. They're big dudes, right? Like these are overweight but still very strong men, and they're using that weight to kind of push you around a little bit. You'll be comfortably in one position, and they kind of elbow you until you move rather than them. But
No,
the
he's
crossbowmen are
not
the
going to let
exact
them touch
opposite.
him. Like as they move closer, he'll move away because
They
disguise self.
they like that.
Yeah, no, he can't. If they touch him, they'll see through his disguise.
Good point. And so they like that. They seem to enjoy their bully boy tactics. But the crossbowmen, they're exactly the opposite. If anything, they're looking upstairs as if if a fight were to break out, they'd be able to run to a safer location. But at the top of a stairs behind a balustrade is about as safe as a crossbowman can get anyway. It's a stark contrast. The land next are quite professional. Um, the household guards are itching for a fight, and the crossbowmen, who appear to be Sembian,
Oh, they're sent.
are very nervous.
Because my initial guess would be like these are just the household guards are basically thugs, and the crossbowmen would be the servants that are missing from earlier. But these are Sembians.
They appear to be Sembians, yeah. There's not much ethnic difference between Cormyrians and Sembians, but there is a lot of stylistic differences. And the way that they dress, the way they have their moustaches and their small beards is distinctly, what we might think of as Spanish or Italian, as opposed to English.
Well, as our host gets up and leaves, I'll share a look with Finnick and Sildarin to try and a sort of "did you see that" kind of look. I guess I only get the same look back from Sildarin. So I'll once he's left and the door is closed, I'll
If I
get
look
as
close
close
the door.
to I get as close to Finnick's bunny ear as I can and whisper, "Did you not notice that he lacked a reflection in this immaculately polished table?"
I guess I missed it. I was, to be honest, too busy trying not to fumble over my own words.
See, well, I believe it might be possible that our host is more than he seems. His lack of reflection, these boarded up windows that do not allow light to penetrate them.
Has he got a
Could
curse
be
of
that he-
ugliness?
Unlikely.
Actually,
It could be, in fact, that he is some sort of undead.
Actually, should have mentioned earlier, but do you like his speech? Because Flight sort of heard from the doorway. Like, did he sound sincere at least? Because to me, he sounded it.
Oh.
Or is he just hiding it?
You can probably have a check at disadvantage, I guess, insight at disadvantage to. You're in the room now, are you, Flightless?
No, he was in the doorway listening to their conversation. Now he's standing outside with the door shut because he's still keeping an eye on the guards and things.
Right. All right. Well, I guess we'll since you can't discuss it with the party, then we'll keep
Big number.
Keep that to yourself for now.
Okay.
I forgot insight was a check.
Yeah.
I got one less with the disadvantage. Actually, I would have got one.
It seems to me that we might have more than a simple rebel on our hands. Although out of character, I should say, like in the real world, the vampires, now that I think about it, vampires are very common knowledge, but in the D&D verse, how infamous are they, now that I think about it?
Yeah, they're pretty well known. But there's also 101,000, 10,001 other monsters as well. So that shuffles it up a little bit. Illusions don't cast shadows. Illusions don't have reflections.
I just wonder if a paladin has anything in their toolbox that would help you.
Yeah, I have divine sense, but he's left the room and
Yeah,
it doesn't penetrate
mean-
stone and wood.
He will return.
So
So is he just standing there in
What-
front of the fireplace?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I'm just waiting.
what do you think of him, Eleanor? Or Silverin?
Mm. If he's an actor, he's a very good one. He did seem remorseful over the loss of the king. But these new revelations seem to cast doubt on his words. If he is some sort of monster, then he cannot be suffered to live. Whereas if this is simply an illusion, then I must wonder what does he have to hide?
Also, we haven't been able to just get to the Vaughn we want.
Indeed, I do wonder what could be so important that he cannot spare the time to meet with us. Especially
That
as
should
he
be the
is,
most important thing.
especially as he is here.
Well, if we have a minute, I could do a commune, and we could ask some questions and get some answers.
So I do agree a more intense investigation is in order. But let's not get violent until we're sure we know what we're dealing with. If it is just a simple illusion, I'd hate for it to result in blood.
True. What? I'm running out of the intense questions. That's why I called this little meeting. Ran out of questions to ask about the dwarven taxation. I'm not sure really what else you Cormorants care about that I should be questioning.
Well, you made the case clear. Were this new development not to come to light, I would have suggested the summons for his brother, although I doubt that would go down very well.
We can begin to cast commune.
All right. I guess a minute isn't too bad.
I think as long as we're not in here for like longer than like 5 or 10 minutes, it should be fine.
Yeah, I was going to suggest like divine sense or trying to like trap him in a corner, but I guess we could also just ask a deity.
And, I mean, divine sense is basically a free, so you can do that as well if you want.
True, but like
Since he's
out of
not
character,
here.
I know that like vampires are intelligent enough that they might mask their undead presence with other spells, so it's not foolproof. I think it's like Mistal's magic aura, something like that, which prevents you from being detected by spells like that. But yeah, just straight up asking a deity is pretty direct. So sure, let's go for that. So assuming his spell reaches its conclusion, what should we ask?
I was thinking of asking whether Count Vaughn is presently within this house.
How many questions you get? 3.
3. Asking whether Count Vaughn's brother that we've been meeting with is a vampire. And then we got one yes or no question left.
Perhaps make it a little more vague than is he a vampire? Perhaps something like is he undead? Or
Is he
something like that.
undead? Sure.
It just casts a wider net. because he could be a ghost or something. I mean, of course, it'd be pretty risky to meet with someone as a ghost. One touch would reveal it, but who knows?
So it's less
Fair and
risky
Finnick,
than
fair.
be your brother being there to be arrested by paladins.
True. So I guess we'll ask: is Vaughn present in this house? Is the person we've been meeting with an undead? And the third one, what should that be?
Something about maybe this being an ambush, a trap.
It's a good one.
Do our hosts intend for us to leave this house? I guess we can ask that.
Because he did like venture to the wine, which could be poisoned.
True, but he'd have to get us all to drink it for that to work.
Are our hosts making plans to attack us or harm us? Are our hosts making plans to harm us?
Yes.
Right then, sounds like we
Seems
have our
like three
questions.
good questions.
Those sound like good questions.
Right then. I'm not sure if Arctic's here at the moment though.
I was gonna say he has.
I am.
He is
Oh,
alive.
he is.
Indeed. All right. So, yeah. So, what are your questions?
I think the first question is, if you're casting the spell, you can say it.
Yeah. Sildurin. Yeah.
Is Count Vaughn currently present in this house? Was one of them.
Yes.
Second is Count Vaughn's brother that we've been meeting with undead?
Yes.
Are our hosts making plans to harm us?
Unclear.
Well, it's not a no.
It's not a no. And he's undead and Vaughn's here, so
I mean, also like
Yeah, it's
just guards. Like, having guards is just a plan to harm someone who does something against you.
possibly. I think the reason why it's unclear is because if we had just been like, okay, have a good day, and walked out, they wouldn't have tried to stop us.
So what's the hard-hitting questions I can hit him with when he comes back?
Hey, you vampire.
Okay, why don't you have a reflection?
right.
Got a curse of ugliness?
Given we have a paladin in the room with us, I think we know where this is headed.
Yeah. As I mentioned, if he's undead, he can't be suffered to live.
I just jumped straight to. He is also Chimerian nobility. Is that not like clash with
Correct.
your ideals or something?
Correct. Very sense of conscience.
If he's undead, he's not worthy of the title.
I'm gonna go have a little paladin cry in the corner and not answer so quickly.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
we're
plan
probably
to
getting into a fight when he comes back in the room, so I guess
Yeah, I guess
prepare yourself
Right.
accordingly.
yeah, brace yourselves because I feel like this is only going to end one way.
Just gonna
Poor
start killing
Sightless didn't hear
Chimerians
any of
now.
this.
Immediately
Undead
after
boy.
having cast the spell and getting the answer to the second question, I will cast that on myself.
Nice.
That's explaining why it would be better to run rather than fight. Everyone, I choose violence.
Yeah. Sightless can't hear any
Did
of
you mean
this.
paladin chooses violence?
He can definitely hear through the door.
I'm being really quiet.
Paladins tend not to be particularly nuanced. Yeah, I'll cast, let's see. Protection from evil and good on myself.
I feel like I don't want to do this combat, mainly because he's standing right here, and I'm more of a shooty than a stabby.
Actually, no, I won't cast that because I got something else in
But
mind.
then I get my insight back. It's like, no, he's a true Comberian. He would never betray the crown.
I will cast Ashley Reed. Okay, so boom, that's been
Like how
cast.
the paladin is just so ready to kill this person.
We're not
not a
nuanced
person.
paladins. Evil, kill, get rid of the evil thing. But no, in all seriousness,
It doesn't seem that evil.
no. But
Unnatural abomination.
yeah, Sildarin's with me.
I got your back.
It's more I don't really fancy fighting my way out of this town.
Crossbowmen probably feel the same way.
Because I don't think, no matter what we say, we're going to turn to his brother and say, yeah, but he was like a vampire, so that's why we killed him in his own house.
Oh, that's alright then.
Yeah, that's all right then.
Yeah.
Like all his guards come, it's like, yeah, but he was a vampire.
Well, I don't plan to. As soon as he comes back in, start swinging. My plan is to basically back him into a corner and say, look your reflection. It doesn't exist. We've put 2 and 2 together. Like you've got nowhere to go.
Now you die.
And then see how it reacts. If he turns to a flock of bats and tries to fly away, it kind of exposes himself.
Well, I mean, we already know.
I suppose I'll just go on with the undead thing and I'll try to get his brother to come down if we don't kill this guy. I'll go tell Flightless we're ready.
If we get his
Yeah.
brother to come down before we attack him, that would be helpful. And we don't have to go find him after.
Well, it just
Exactly.
depends when Eleanor decides she's had enough and time to unleash paladin vengeance.
Pretty much. Like this,
Clock-
knowing now
clock
that
is
he's
ticking.
undead. Knowing now that he's undead, like we're not leaving this house before he's dead in one way or another.
He's
So
already
lady,
dead, technically.
yeah.
Ooh, deader.
So I suppose our little private meeting's over.
So I guess Sildarin will come with a tap on the door.
Tink tink.
And then Flightless
I
will,
can reach the door with my halberd. It's 10 feet away. Tink tink.
and then he'll
Alright.
just gesture for the guy and then open the door. Then close
As
it
I
behind him.
open the door, I'll say to Flightless, "You should join us."
Out the door from the inside.
So is it just Flightless is going in, or is it the host as well?
Well, the host with the most as well.
Yeah, we'll invite him to return, and then I'll just say to Flightless quietly, "You should join us."
I guess devoid of our artisan, Flightless will do a drow hand sign as he comes into the room, but no one understands it.
Ah,
Unfortunate.
Guess I'll just look confused, look up, it's like, you can't get good help these days. Do weird hand signs.
Enough with the gang signs.
one question: are you Crips or Bloods?
West Side.
I think he's Bloods.
You might be. Well, my friends, I do notice that you have not touched the hors d'oeuvres or the wine yet. I cannot help but feel as if you are filled with paranoia.
I have to say I'm a little bit uneased from what my cleric has told me. That I didn't happen to notice, but you do lack a reflection.
He's taken back. He leans back. He gets a little bit worried. And what does this mean?
Just not entirely sure, as has been told by my paladin, where to proceed.
I think you know what this means. What manner of creature are you exactly?
What manner of creature? Is it important? I thought that we had established, he says, massaging both eyebrows with the one hand, thumb on one and middle finger on the other. I thought we had established that humanity is not necessary to be a part of the new Cormir.
Ah, yes, but my paladin seems to find it important that you're undead for some reason.
Yes, to be human, perhaps not. To be undead, that's another thing entirely.
Is that simply not one more category that divides us? I have heard that the elves take counsel from their own dead from time to time. They call them Baelnorn. They are not living, it is true, but they remain valued members of elven society. Can it not be that in Cormyr we can look past such frivolories as being able to breathe or to eat?
I would not consider these frivolous things.
I guess with this Fly's just in the background, just pull out a piece of paper and start writing on it.
Are you openly a vampire or secretly a vampire?
My lord, I cannot tell a lie to you. I am as you state, I have changed. It is a change that was forced upon me, but one that fills me with great anguish. I am no longer a man. I can no longer bear the light of the sun. I can no longer enjoy walking through my own rose garden. The lure of a woman is something I may never know, for I have never been in love. I have never had a woman. But now I fear that if I were to try, then I would be overcome, not with the passion of lust, but with the desire for blood. Best it might be, then, that you drive a stake through my heart now. Be done with it.
I
For
guess.
it is as you say, I am dead.
Why not tell us who did this to you?
What difference would it make? You will still kill me, and it will not
Perhaps.
change your opinion of those who bear my action.
But we would take vengeance for you. We would see that the one who turned you forcefully is also put to rest.
He shakes his head. Perhaps you have not been listening to me, lady. I wish not for violence. I wish not for blood. I wish that none of this had happened. I wish that Cormyr had remained whole and wholesome. I wish that my king had not died, and that the young prince had not disappeared. I wish that all of this had never happened. And
Can I
thus
insight
I
that?
would take no satisfaction in the destruction of another soul, living or dead.
And I suppose with this Fly, let's hand his little piece of paper over to Eleanor, the little note.
What does it say?
Yeah, that's the. Just his.
Though you may be a vampire, it is clear that you do not accept what you are. You clearly fight against it, which is noble. You claim I don't understand.
It's becoming nuanced.
You claim I don't understand. Perhaps elaborate further.
Let me see. If my condition were to be known to the public, then I cannot understand how they would possibly accept it. It is only through secrecy that I can hope to remain. It is only through deception that I can hope to survive. And I am not a liar. I cannot bear myself to be in this state. I have not been like this for long. 1 moon or 2, remember. But every dawn, every time the sun rises, I consider stepping out in the sunlight to see it for one last time. But I cannot bring myself to do that. I lack the courage. I was never a courageous man. But now in my current state, I seem to fear for my survival more than ever. Why is this so? How can it be that my will to live has only grown in death? These are philosophical questions I shall never know the answer to, for I sense that I will not be leaving this room in any state but ash.
If you will not tell us who turned you, then perhaps the circumstances. You said it was not your choice.
If I were to tell you, it would be betraying one I love.
Is your brother similarly afflicted?
Please do not ask me these questions. You know I cannot lie. He's now massaging his head with 2 hands, as if this is causing even more distress.
He's going to grow a third hand if you keep doing this.
Is this why the Count will not meet with us? Is he in a coffin or something?
No, it is not the reason. He is gauging. Is hoping that through my correspondence he can understand whether or not you are here to destroy. I can see now with almost certainty that you are.
Well, our original purpose was to bring your brother before the princess to explain these egregious taxes.
How ironic then that I should suggest that the taxation be in blood and steel. I regret my words now.
Indeed, they are poorly chosen in light of present circumstances.
Light, your words are as poorly chosen.
I can't help but smirk a little at that. Well, you wish not to die, but I have my duty. What would you ask of me
You will destroy my...
that I simply leave you be?
Is that not so much of a request? That amid all of this chaos, amidst the destruction of our nation, could it not be possible that we can live alongside you? As the lion lives alongside the goat.
How many more innocents will you kill to prolong your unnatural existence?
Do not know. We have a, how do you say it? We have our servants. We have those who are willing to be ours, a harem, men and of women, who donate their blood to that we may be sustained. I think some do it out of fear, and some do it out of allegiance. But I do not think that it is immoral. It is not the rape of the neck. It is not a form of murder or assault. It is done voluntarily. In the same way as a maid who is loyal to her lord will serve him in any capacity, no matter how debauched that might seem to the outsider.
Well, even if you do not claim the lives of innocents, your condition is quite contagious, as you've learnt yourself. And it would seem the one who gave it to you is not afraid of spreading it.
I did not wish for this affliction, this curse, I agree, but it was done in the interest of strengthening our household. And in that regard, it is hard to argue with the assessment. Indeed, it has made me stronger. I was never a fighter. I am a flimsy swordsman. I am a weak man with barely the strength of a child. But now, and he demonstrates by picking up the bottle of wine and smashing it in his very hands, the glass shattering and cutting him deeply. But he opens his hand and you watch as it heals before your very eyes. But now I am immortal. Is my house not served better by me in my current state than it was when I was but a weakling? Can I not
would not
serve my
agree.
nation?
Such dark powers are not for any mortal to wield.
On the contrary, your condition has doomed your house.
I knew it would be so. If I am to be true, at least I knew it would be so. I protested. But as the youngest of 4 brothers, what influence can I expect?
I suppose second note
Well.
to Eleanor.
Okay.
Can I make
What's
a
this
small
one say?
comparison for you?
My
Hmm.
Baron, I am at your service. You can use any analogy you see fit.
A fable that I've heard once. A man needs to defend his kingdom, so he gains the power of a vampire, only to lose control and kill the very kingdom he loves.
Do you think that this fable is unavoidable? Or do you think that even as a monster, I can forge my own destiny? I can be your ally. I can help you to secure the realm. Or do you think that as a monster, I am doomed to hell?
What's the wine? What color? Is it red or white?
Red. Oh, it's red.
Guess I pick up the red wine. It depends on the monster. In the fable, he couldn't control his bloodlust and killed his own family. Can you control your own bloodlust? So I just swallow it around.
And even if you can now, immortality is a curse for a reason. Perhaps you will maintain your restraint for 100 years, 1,000. But when boredom strikes and you tire of one thing and the next, perhaps it'll be all right for you to have a
Perhaps, my
drink.
lady. Perhaps, but should we be concerned about the world in 1,000 years' time, 100 years' time? Or should we be concerned about the disintegration of the nation now? Is it not better to have strong, nay, immortal allies in your corner when you need them most? Or would you say, well, one day you shall be a villain, and therefore I condemn you for crimes you have yet to commit? Do you believe this is fair?
Perhaps not, but it could be argued that your very condition is a crime against nature itself, as unfortunate as that is.
Then let nature herself punish me, punish my family. Let it not be the hands of men and of women. Let it be the sun.
Would that the gods could do it themselves. Alas, we mortal agents exist for that purpose, to be their hands.
And they've delivered you into our hands.
I cannot debate with a fanatic, particularly fanatics who are right. Kill me and be done with it.
Trying to go across this as a whimsical. What is the? So I'm trying to think. What would be the phase view on vampires? Because they tend to be very whimsical.
I think they tend to be
The
quite
phase?
individual. Like, the
Yeah.
Fae. What would a Fae
Oh,
think
the
of a
phase
vampire?
view, right.
Yeah, because
They would hate
from the
them.
Fae.
Yeah,
They're
they'd hate them. Like that.
antithetical.
Well, tell me.
Precisely. The Fae are so full of life. They're more full of life than humanity is, and vibrance, and vampires are the darkest of dark shadows. Yeah.
Tell
And then
me,
I
do
guess
you truly...
that's like, I guess
ahead.
for Flightless, like, he's probably been called a cursed monster that should be killed more than once. So, I suppose it doesn't feel good that they're condemning one cursed monster. He's just standing there in the corner of the room.
Yeah, tell me, do you truly regret your affliction?
I
Do
did
you
not want
wish
it in the
to-
first place.
Would you shed these powers of yours and return to mortality if you could?
In an instant.
Then perhaps it's not too late for you. I've never heard of a cure for vampirism, but great and terrible powers exist in this world. Perhaps it is possible.
Is it also possible that you can find mercy? You priests, he looks at you and Sildarin, whose divine providence is to deliver justice and to end the darkness.
I share an uneasy look with Sildarin, like I'm kind of on the edge. I could go either way at this moment.
The ghost of Moog is like bashing on the window, going, "Kill the fucker!"
He's like, roll initiative, roll initiative.
This is too nuanced.
Roll
I don't
initiative!
understand.
Just tear day one, stop it.
You cannot be permitted to survive in your current condition, nor the rest of your family if they share it.
It is regrettable, but like Sildarin here, I too have a duty that I must continue, that I must uphold. I wish there were another way.
As much as I would wish to be destroyed, and truly, there is a part of me that yearns for annihilation. I too have a duty to my house, and
I
I must
understand
oppose
that.
you.
You have every right to fight for your survival.
I draw my sword.
Well then, let us do this.
Shame it
We
has to
might
come
have
to
been
this.
friends. Yes, it is a shame, Baron. But you are the Lord, Baron, and your decision is law.
I prefer not to kill sentient creatures. I came from the Fae to seek fun times and adventures. Yet it seems here I am stuck at political tables. Bored out of my mind.
Indeed.
Me and Sildarin are getting ready for battle along with him, and you're just sort of leaning back in your chair and drinking your wine.
The plus
And
side,
my
things are about to
Baron-
get a lot more interesting. So
Exactly, when he was going to say something like that. I do hope that you find my death entertaining.
I shall
He
not.
leaps
I
from his
shall bid you adieu, and with that, I'm just going to turn around and leave. I will leave this combat to the people who wish you dead.
I'm gonna raise an
May
eyebrow
your-
at that, but I don't try to stop you.
May your house be safe for 1,000 years, Baron.
Yours too. Does he let me leave, or does he strike me in the back as I'm leaving?
Absolutely. His fight is not with you.
If I can get out and past the guards, I'll just leave.
So I'll look to
Guards are
Flightless and see whether
nervous,
he's planning to do the same thing.
He looks very conflicted. He doesn't know.
You need not stand with us in this battle if you do not wish to do so. I will not force you.
Guess. He'll also step outside then.
Right,
watch out for the brother.
What kind of door is this? Is it the kind with the sort of like two rails that you put a plank across, or is it a different kind of door?
Oh no, it's a much more modern door. It's a lockable door, not unlike one that we have, in today's era.
Can you lock it from the inside?
Absolutely, with the key,
Okay.
and the key is probably nearby.
Oh, and is the key, say, here?
Say like something like that. Yeah, exactly. It's in a convenient location so that it can be locked when
Alright, then
necessary.
And click and step back over here. Richard kind of stare each other down for a few moments. Take a deep breath.
Wild West.
He begins take a step. crawling up the wall backwards like a spider.
And seeing that unnatural sight kind of gives me renews my conviction, and my frown intensifies. And I step forward. Initiative time.
His fangs are born as he leaps at you from his height advantage. Roll for
Nice.
Oh, wow.
brilliant. But quick though you might be, Sildarin, his unholy speed is quicker. He leaps down upon Lady Eleanor, using gravity to his advantage, and I hope this will be enough for him to land a successful attack. So these attacks are at advantage.
Alright, although I am under the effect of protection from evil and good.
All right, so that count. Does he have to make a saving throw, or is it just at disadvantage then?
Just be a straight roll because he's at advantage.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, not like he was going to hit you anyway.
Not really.
True.
21?
No, I'm good.
Didn't think so. And so, like, he is strong, but he's not experienced. It's like being leaped at by a mountain lion.
As he flies down from the
And
ceiling,
yeah.
I'll like raise the shaft of my halberd to catch him, and sort of like, and then shove him back down to the ground and off of me.
Brilliant. And now he's squaring off against you, Eleanor, looking at Sildarin on the side, and Sildarin, you move almost as fast as he does.
I guess just bonus action to cast Spirit Weapon,
Yeah.
or sorry, Spirit Shroud.
Right.
And then I'll move in behind him and Booming Blade.
All right. Bam. That's certainly going to be enough. He is actually unarmored, and while he's quick, he's not quick enough. It's a devastating strike. Aye! And as he
Hardly
yells out,
radiant
"My
damage.
lord! My lord, are you all right in there?" Aye! And the land next to the household guards, the crossbowmen, they also enter the battle, but they'll enter next round.
Alrighty. I did lock the door. Might slow him down a bit. Let's see. I'll do the same bonus action Spirit Shroud, and then make 2 halberd attack. So toggle on Spirit Shroud.
Bam! It couldn't possibly stop an attack like that.
17 and 21. 21 damage as well. I'll throw in a weak smite on that one. Which is, I think, just 2d8.
Would not be 3d8 because he's undead.
Oh yeah, you're right. He's undead.
So did the entire reason this is hit.
Yeah, I know, but I forgot that bonus. So let's top that up.
Right.
12 plus 5 plus 2 plus 19 plus 19. 57 total.
He only had 82 hit points, and he took 29 from the first attack, 27 from the first attack, and that leaves him as a pile of ash. I guess as Sildarin strikes him from behind, he goes, I bop him with the blunt end of the halberd so that he sort of doubles over a little bit, and then sort of say, I'm sorry, as I execute him with a single slash of the axe blade. And as his head parts from his body, the whole thing disintegrates to ash.
Be not sorry. You are justified. Turns to ash. Battle then erupts, but shall we leave that for next week? I know we still do have a good 10 minutes or even
It
more.
sounds good.
But
Give some time to think, catch up with everything.
I think, and Moog would like to be involved in the combat.
Yeah, we don't want Moog to miss
Yeah.
out killing random innocent Cormyreans. He would love it.
Exactly, that's right. And with his speed of 25, if we don't let him get in the first round, it's going to take him forever to actually catch up. So
He's just going to come in and kill everything that moves. Look down at the floor and they'll be like, "Oh, Flightless, sorry, I thought you were someone else."
Shouldn't have worn that disguise, Flightless.
Well, it's been fun. It's good to see that everything is going back to normalcy for you.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope that you enjoyed the session. It was a little bit unprepared, but this is how I wanted it to go. So I hope it's working.
Yeah, me and
been good.
Sildarin. I think either one of us could solo a vampire. We're both pretty
I
strong.
think you could solo several vampires.
We'll see
Yeah,
when the
just-
big brother vampire shows up.
Pretty sure all of those vampires' attacks would have fit me.
I mean, considering
I don't
whose house
fancy
this
being
is,
in melee range of
a
one.
powerful vampire might turn up.
Yeah, that's true. Like an ancient vampire, if they even exist. I don't know.
They're saying, come above the point. Because I thought this looked familiar. Isn't this Death House?
It is Death House. It's an excellent little townhouse. Yeah.
Because I walked in and my first thought when we got into this room was, quickly, clog up the fireplace.
I see you have a cruel DM. I tend not to use the whole fireplace and
Oh no,
slashing blades.
our
and all that
DM,
junk.
he just runs it as it's from the book, and we have never survived.
You'll never
The
survive.
close.
Our Death House was so
two
funny.
people survived out of 5.
Yeah. I killed one of the players by accident.
Because one of the
How
players.
did you kill him?
He fell unconscious and I didn't have any health potions and I needed to get him down the stairs, so I just flung him down the stairs.
So
then
he was
get
like
down
failed
and heal
death
him.
saves?
Yes.
Yeah, he just hit the ground and died.
Lol, that's fantastic.
I forgot the bottom floor was also poisoned, so he hit the ground, insta death fail, then failed the poison and died instantly. It's like, oh yeah, there's poison down there too. I only clogged the top floors.
Magnificent.
Death House was fun. I've only done it once and I
Proud as
managed to
proud of
survive, so I'll never do it again.
Huh.
Because I probably won't survive the second time.
I say, well, we should say goodbye to the internet. It's like, farewell, internet. It's been
Thanks,
good.
everyone.
Uh,